These are some petty revenge stories you don't want to miss. My college roommates and her friends would eat all my food, so they ate brains. I was in college full-time and working full-time, so I had little time to meal prep, I bet. I would make enough meals for a few days and store them on my designated shelf in our shared dorm fridge. I'd come home from a very long day and just want to eat and relax, but I'd almost always have no food left. 9 times out of 10, I'd actually walk into them eating my meals. They'd even have the guts to say how good it tasted, and they're sad there wasn't more. I've asked over and over to stop eating my damn food. Nope, wouldn't listen. So I went home to my parents' house and made a lot of spaghetti. Good spaghetti, knowing they would most certainly eat the whole thing. Sure enough, I get home to the dorm after a long day, and these 3, not even my roommates, girls, are standing in the kitchen eating my spaghetti, and the huge bowl is almost gone. The one girl says how much she loves it and wants to know how I made it. Straight-faced, I tell her that is a common meal we make on the farm. We go to the butcher and get head cheese. That's the meat in the spaghetti. She was confused, total city kids, and didn't know what head cheese was. I answer, well, it's pig's brains. It's really good, isn't it? That's what most of my meals are made from. She throws my bowl of spaghetti down and runs to the bathroom, puking everywhere. The others took off out of the dorm running too. That is how I ended them stealing my food with such sweet petty revenge. Nobody touched my food ever again, nor did they talk to me. Win-win. Also, the meat was not head cheese brains. It was pork sausage and very lean beef mixed together to resemble cooked pig brains. Edit. All right, already. Jeez. Head cheese is not brains. Is everything but. In my family, we just use that term as an all-encompassing. Every family has things like that. That's one of ours. Lighten up, lol. I truly wish this wasn't true. I would have been a lot happier and ate better. These girls were the true definition of 0 F's given, no morals, ass hats. When I say puke everywhere, I mean everywhere in the bathroom and on the carpet just outside. She was already puking by the time she got to the bathroom, and puke painted the bathroom trying to get to the toilet. Thanks for all the comments. It's been fun to read your stories too. Reminds me of the time I threw a potluck dinner. One girl came and of course didn't bring anything again. After she remarked on how good the meatballs were, the one who made them was proud to say they were made of lamb. The rude one makes a face and asks why no one told her it wasn't beef. I said, no big deal, just eat what you brought. Oh yeah, that's right, you didn't bring anything. She also was proud to say she didn't eat pork, but oh how she loved bacon. Reminds me of an old MTV show that had challenges. This one girl said she couldn't do the pig's feet challenge because she was Jewish and didn't eat pork. Another girl on her team said, but you had a sausage muffin for breakfast. Her reply was, that was beef. And the other girl kept telling her that their sausage was pork sausage. She never got it. Terminated without warning. Reported them for tax evasion. I was working at 1099 position that was bringing in around an extra 3K a month. I was able to do this job alongside my full-time job with no issues. I turned in my work on time, I attended all meetings, and even had gotten a great report from one of my clients. My job must have suspected I was doing more than one position, however. They started demanding that I check my email at least once an hour and even set hours for me as a 1099 worker. I had to report when I was out of office, whether for injury or something else. I pointed out how I was a 1099 contractor and that none of those things were a contractual obligation. In fact, the entire reason I took on the extra work with this company was the flexibility. They ignored this and continued to push. A few weeks ago, at nearly midnight, I received a termination email. No phone call, not even a text message. I went to log on to my computer the next day and saw my credentials were invalid. I reached out to my supervisor and was told to check my personal email. If you even do that, and that was the end of it. I stewed in it a few days before I finally did something. I reported them for mislabeling my position as 1099 when in fact it should have been a W-2 employee. The IRS has a ton of information on what constitutes 1099 work and what doesn't, and I met none of the criteria for 1099 work. They were doing this to avoid paying taxes on their employees and to avoid having to offer insurance. So I reported them. I would wager this is still ongoing for them and it's only been a few weeks. I'm not excited about potentially putting people out of work, but I'm tired of being effed over by employers. Edit, I submitted a form to my State Department of Labor and will be calling them tomorrow. It may take 2 months for anything to happen. If they look into it, they will go back years and look at anyone who has ever worked there, which is exactly the kind of thing OP wants to happen. Once the IRS gets interested in you, they never let go until they are 100% satisfied that you have paid them everything they think you owe. It can drag on for years, and the company will probably have to assign at least one full-time person to deal with that one issue. I'm not a big fan of the IRS, however, they do have their uses. Check your personal email, even if you do that. If you even do that, zing, by OP. I wish you all the luck, OP, in that, and I hope you get the outcome that you desire. Former boss disputed work history 6 months after I left, so I blew up his phone with spam. A few years ago, I was working at a corporate job and had a very significant death in the family, my grandfather, that I needed to take time off to go handle. I needed to help with the estate and honestly, just grieve. We were very close. I asked my manager to use emergency pay time off and it was denied. I asked to go on FMLA instead and it was also denied, saying that grandparents don't qualify. Why do they not qualify? That's what I want to know. They're family. Their immediate family, so why do they not qualify? I told him I wouldn't be able to come in for at least a couple of weeks while I flew down to Florida to attend the funeral and help with the estate. They told me if I did that, I would be terminated. So they terminated me and even had the gall to offer me my 2 weeks of severance in exchange for signing an NDA, a gag order, and an indemnity clause, which means I wouldn't be able to sue them. I wouldn't be able to talk smack about them to others or online. You get the idea. Of course, I refused. The conversation took place on August 1st. On my LinkedIn profile, I listed that I worked there from my start date to the beginning of August. The company dated my termination for 31st of July. They said they had to do with benefits or something. Fast forward to January, I was up early with my 6-week-old newborn. Congratulations. I got a LinkedIn notification that my former manager viewed my profile. A few minutes later, I got an email from LinkedIn about my employment at that company was being disputed. He disputed the difference between 31st of July and 1st of August. Are you serious? 1 day. Wow. LinkedIn ignored my dispute of the report and removed the company experience from my profile entirely. Not to mention that when I did repost the experience, it would no longer be verified by LinkedIn because I would have to verify through a company email address, which I no longer had. The absolute gall of this guy. And seriously, you're thinking about me 6, almost 7 months later? So I found his home address online. I had his personal cell phone number in my phone, and I also found his personal and work email address. I signed him up for as much spam as I possibly could find. Not just that, I went to every moving company and real estate agency in the area asking to be put in contact with an agent saying that I was looking for a house for $800,000 and moving companies to give quotes for a cross-country move. I gave those websites every contact information I had for him. Something that would really excite anyone getting that kind of sales lead. A former coworker in the same department told me that his phone was blowing up for days. Both his work and personal cell. His role was client-facing, so he couldn't just ignore phone calls. I don't know if he ever figured out that it was me who did it, but those calls would have started pouring in within an hour of his report to LinkedIn. Screw that guy. Paid colleges are good ones. Mormons and Scientologists are relentless. Scientologists are on another level. They found my dad after 35 years, 5 moves, 4 jobs, and 2 states. Yup, I signed my ex up for Scientologists too. That was fun. I have someone I want to do this to, but I have not been able to find a site to use where I would not be traceable. Suggestions? Mormons? JWs are also needed. Google is your friend, also a good VPN. The original owner of the house that we are in must have signed up or was at least a member at some level. He gets mail constantly with Scientology vacation packages and seminars, full DVD packs and other nonsense. He wasn't even here as the original owner that long, and it has since been converted to a music studio and practice space, so no one actually lives in it full time. It's been at least over 6 years. That's so good. That would annoy the crap out of him. Dental catalogues. My neighbours decided to block the intersection and light of mortars. Yes, the aerial kind that use tubes as launches on the 4th of July for over an hour. Next level illegal in my state. They wouldn't stop even when asked. We even mentioned that it's illegal and that other neighbours were hosing down their cars and watering their yards. I also expressed concern about all the dead, dry brush they cut down and abandoned in their yard a month earlier. One of the homeowners got 1 foot from my face and yelled, "F you." As we were walking away, the police showed up and informed the neighbours that what they had going on was a jailable offence, not just a citation, but jail just for possessing them. They were pissed that they had to clean up, but did it. So, just so you know, the homeowners are missing many teeth, and I was feeling especially petty and signed them up for dental supply catalogues. I felt kind of bad about until I and other neighbours found a ton of firework debris in bushes, on dry grass and under trees. It's been really dry here and there is a burn ban. They could have started fires, so F them. Call the police and inform them the perpetrators failed to clean up their mess. This is why fireworks are banned where I live. This and missing digits and eyes. You must live in Queensland because it is banned here. We are not allowed to have fireworks. It is illegal. The only ones that are allowed to let fireworks off are ones that actually have a license. So you have to be trained and licensed to use fireworks in Queensland. Man spread all over me on a flight. Enjoy playing footsie with my spouse. My wife and I are currently on a 7.5-hour flight. Oh, I'm sorry. They are long and hard. We are in the premium section where you get somewhat large seats and way more legroom. Not as cushy as first class, but better than economy. Okay, I don't feel that bad for you anymore. I'm 30, SF 5'10", and plus size. I'm always so careful to make sure I'm not taking anyone else's space on a plane, even if it's uncomfortable. That's considerate of you. I'm supposed to be in a middle seat, but when I get there, there's already a man sitting in the middle spot next to his assumed wife, so I take the aisle. No big deal. I prefer that, to be honest. My spouse was seated a couple of rows away. The man looks like he's probably 5'4", 70s, and small build. In a premium seat, he basically has a swimming pool of space to lounge around in. So tell me why the hell this man took my entire armrest and 3 to 4 inches of my space, had his entire body pressed against mine, despite me seeing he has room between him and his wife. And most gracious of all, put his 1 foot, like 6 inches, into my leg room. Also, at one point, he motioned like he was trying to get at his seatbelt, but just kind of ended up pinching at my upper thigh, but then didn't put his seatbelt on. Ew. He also had AirPods in and seemed to be pretending to sleep. Plus, being a woman sitting along means I don't trust how he'd react if I said something. My first step was to put my foot exactly on the border of my seat when he readjusted, so he couldn't take the space back. But he put his foot directly against mine, and every 20 seconds or so, he would bump his foot against mine. I started texting my spouse, and she does the coolest effing thing. She tells me she'll trade seats with me, and if he tries the same thing with her, she will start playing footsies with him. Here's the thing. My wife is a 6'4" 4, bearded trans woman. She has a voice like Johnny Cash, and to a 70-something creepy man will absolutely read as male. So if this guy wants to intimidate a woman, he can do it to someone who will dish it out right back, but 5 times creepier. I told her not to worry, I would put a blanket between us, no big deal. So the blanket goes down, his foot immediately retreats, but then this guy starts tapping his foot to music, and he's doing it pressed up against my foot. So basically just rubbing my foot up and down with his foot. I yank my foot back instinctively because I felt like I was going to puke. So I sicked the wife on him. Bless her heart for being willing to swap seats with me. She's an angel. We have an update. Wife sat down. Dude was still spreading up a storm. She just came up to tell me that apparently he did the foot thing to her too, but she'd taken her shoes off. So in her words, she grabbed his toes with mine like a trapdoor spider. Wouldn't you know it, the man suddenly developed the miraculous ability to keep his feet to himself. Hallelujah. I absolutely could have spoken to him, but I have PTSD from men being worse than creepy, and I know my default response is to freeze up and get too anxious to say anything. If he'd blown up at me or started being even worse, I'd have gone from creeped out and annoyed to having the worst effing day really fast. Plus, I try not to beat myself up for my reactions to other people's bad behavior as long as I'm not hurting anyone. Also, I put this in a comment, but if someone is weird enough to pinch my thigh and rub their feet on me, I no longer know where their line is. I am very grateful that the people who don't think anything bad could come from bringing it up to him have never been in positions where they have been hurt for speaking up for themselves. I hope you will continue to have that kind of life. Also, I totally forgot to add, I saw that his wife took her shoes off at one point and then she put her feet up on the armrest of the people in front of her. Ooh. No. I didn't see if that person tried using the armrest, but if they did, they would have set their arm down on her feet. To anyone out there who is single and feels discouraged, if these two nasty foot freaks could find each other, I'm sure there is someone out there for you too. There's hope. I need to know what the other guy did when your wife sat down. I'm sure he retreated back into a cocoon. Oh my God, the update is gold. Your wife is amazing. His wife putting her feet up on the armrest is unreal. How have those two made it through life without someone snapping their heads off? Trapdoor spider, your wife has a way with words. As someone who has been gifted with trapdoor spider toes, this made me bust out laughing. I don't know if this was truly revenge, but it was a funny story. When I was much younger, like 8th grade, my bro and I were working a sports booster event at our local fair, collecting money for cars to park in the parking lot. We were the last shift, and at like 6 p.m, the head of the organization came by and collected the money box and table and drove off. My mum, however, was pretty late to pick us up, and we were just standing there. The thing is, people kept driving up and giving us money to park there, and being young, foolish teens, we just smiled and took the money. Anyways, this really hot senior girl drives up and really puts a charm on and was like, "Can I just come in for free?" We were like, yes, of course you can. She drove in seemingly very proud that she had charmed some innocent underclass man. However, the joke was on her since parking was free at that time, and my bro and I made a nice $60 since my mum forgot to pick us up on time. Nothing you can do when people just hand you money but accept it. OP, I'm not proud of it, but as a penniless youth, it was like manna from heaven. There's a point where if someone hands you money and wants you to take it, you should just stop protesting. To quote a bit from Shaw's play Heartbreak House, when a burglar named Dunn breaks into a house intending to be caught so that he can take up a collection from people who are too soft-hearted to send him to prison, Captain Shotover, are you an honest man? The burglar. What I do is innocent and pious. I inquire about for houses where the right sort of people live. I work it on them same as I worked it here. I break into the house, put a few spoons or diamonds in my pocket, make a noise, get caught, and take up a collection. And you wouldn't believe how hard it is to get caught when you're actually trying to. I have knocked over all the chairs in a room without a soul paying any attention to me. In the end, I have had to walk out and leave the job. Randall, when that happens, do you put back the spoons and diamonds? The burglar. Well, I don't fly in the face of Providence, if that's what you want to know. I don't know why I read it in an accent like that, and I apologize. I'm sure it was terrible, but it just felt like it needed it, right? I don't see the petty revenge in the story. OP, pretty older gal, thinks she's manipulating some hapless younger boys when those boys really manipulating everyone. I feel like that was a nice way to end this video. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I really would appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.